We're watching a very high-class player. This is when you know everyone is at his best.
Good day, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. It's 25 September, and over here in South Africa, it's National Heritage Day. It's a public holiday. Some of us call it the National Braai Day, and what braai means is barbecue. We have this habit or heritage of lighting up a fire, putting some meat on the grill, and having a fun day with the family, and that's what a lot of South Africans will be doing today. Maybe not so happy after the weekend's Rugby World Cup loss to Ireland, but we're still in the mix and the swing of things, and we'll be covering some of that, and also a lot of cricket questions that I see you guys are posting. Please post questions, as many as you can. I'm going to cover as many as I can, as I alluded to in the social post I did yesterday. But it's great to have you all here. I see quite a few of you are logging in, and we're going to be having some fun today. So keep posting your questions, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification to make sure that you don't miss anything going forward. It's great to be here. It's a Monday. It's a bit odd for us to do a live session on a Monday, but there's so much that happened over the last few days and weeks, so there's a lot to cover, and I'm looking forward to be doing that with you guys. So post your questions in the box below, the descriptions box, and as I said, I'll be interacting with you guys and answering as many as possible. But before we get there, it's time, as per usual, for AB Reacts. So I've got a few things lined up, not a lot. After that, we'll be going into the questions. But for now, it's AB Reacts. I love this. Alrighty, first up is the Rugby World Cup. I did mention that just now, where South Africa lost to Ireland. It was an incredible game of rugby. Funny enough, and to my disappointment, I missed most of it. I was at a wedding in a place called Tilbach. It's a small town in the Western Cape. One of my wife's best friends from school got married, Greta and Warren. Congratulations, guys. A wonderful couple. It was a beautiful wedding. But I did whisper in the ear halfway through, like, you're making me miss the rugby. Just kidding. I was happy to miss the first half. I did run upstairs for a little bit of that second half and the crunch time where we ultimately lost the game. I thought we were the much better team out there on the day, unfortunately. And as I mentioned before, to all your rugby lovers, you can go into my past episodes. I did say that I was incredibly worried about our kicking. And that's ultimately what cost us the game. So lots of thinking to do. I think our players are unbelievable, but in crunch games, specifically in the knockout games, you have to have a consistent kicker. It's just one of those things you need. Ireland ultimately didn't end up missing a lot of kicks. Johnny Sexton, they fly off, is very, very solid. He was very successful on the day. And Ireland coming out on top, 13-8. But enough of that. I feel the Boks are still going to win this World Cup. We're still very confident with our team. As I said, I felt that we dominated most of the game. We got another game coming up against Tonga. We might now have to win that by quite a big margin to make sure we qualify for this knockouts at the quarterfinal. So that's first things first. Springboks, make sure we play a solid game against Tonga, please. And we'll keep a close eye on that, because Scotland had a good win yesterday, and they will be trying to upset a few teams. Well, that will be Ireland and South Africa, to sneak in the back door and qualify for those quarterfinals. But hopefully the Springboks won't allow that. Let's see what happens. Scotland will have to beat Ireland to make that happen and to put pressure on the Boks. Boks, we're right behind you still, and I think you're playing great rugby. Quietly confident. Moving on to the next thing then, a bit of cricket news or cricket questions. We caught up with some of the fans in the Australian Indian series, and they had a few questions for me. It's great to see some of the fans posting some questions on this platform, and we thought we would get hold of it and make sure that I answer some of those questions. So here goes the first one. I'm not sure if you guys can hear it. My backroom team, I didn't hear anything there. I have listened to the question before, but let's maybe just refresh and hopefully it'll work now. Still no luck. I think we might have to move on to the next one. Let's see if the audio is better on this one, guys. Sorry about that. No luck on the live questions. Let's try the last one. My team is under pressure. Sorry, everyone. I know it's a live session. Sometimes things go wrong in live sessions. We'll get back to that. There's no audio. I know. I also picked up on that. I do know the questions well. One of the guys asked me about South Africa's chances and if they will be contenders and what they need to do to get used to Indian conditions. So everyone will be sitting with that problem because we know the conditions in India are quite different to everywhere else in the world, or most places in the world. I think some of the wickets, as we saw in that last game between India and Australia, tend to get slower as the innings progresses. So that will be something guys will be preparing for. Same as with India coming to South Africa or Australia. They prepare normally for more bouncier wickets, wickets that maybe pick up pace through the innings. So it's the complete opposite. But yes, I do think South Africa are contenders. They're certainly not favourites. I think India are putting that marker up with a lot of confidence, saying, guys, we are favourites for this World Cup. Now, I've seen a couple of posts where people talk about the problems of being the favourites in a World Cup and also hosting. It's not an easy burden to carry, but I do feel that India are playing with a lot of freedom at the moment. Some of the main players are being rested and will come in with a lot of energy in that World Cup. So those were two of the questions. I think the other question, I actually can't remember what it had to do with. Something with India and Australia losing quite a few ODIs in a row now, losing confidence and what that means going into World Cup and how do you prepare for a World Cup and mentally, especially if you're not playing good cricket. So that's really difficult, and I think it starts with trust between the coaching staff. And let's have a look. I think we're trying quickly with this question again, but it starts with trust. Let's hit it.
Hi, BD. This is Malik. Who do you think would be the highest run scorer in the upcoming Cricket World Cup?
So thank you very much for that question. That's the one I missed. The other ones had to do with preparation and South Africa being contenders and how do they prepare. And this one, Shubman Gill, I do think that he will be the highest run scorer. That's my pick for the week or for the tournament at least. We know Shubman is in great form. I'm always going to go for an opening batsman, at the very worst, a number 3 batter. We've covered that as well before in the IPLs. To wear that orange cap, you're going to have to be an opener or maybe a number 3, like Virat did in that one year. But that was an extreme performance from him in that season. Other than that, I generally, for the highest run scorers, go for the openers, maybe a number 3. But I think Shubman is in such form that it would be silly of me to overlook him. He's a great player with a fantastic technique. He's playing at home in India. Yes, there will be pressure on him, but he's my pick. All right, but I think that's that with AB Reacts. There was some technical difficulties here. I apologize about that. But I see you guys have been posting a lot of questions. I thank you for that. And it's great to be interacting with you. So without wasting any more time, the Lionheart, I always see you here. And it's great picking your questions because you know what you're talking about and you ask some good questions. Could you provide an analysis of Gill's batting style? We're just talking about him. So very clever there. Delving into aspects such as power generation, mentality, focus, adaptability during innings, and the pivotal role of his form leading up to the World Cup. Yes, so analysis of his style and his technique, I think it's quite simple and basic, as you generally would say of some of the best players in the world. You get some exceptions like a Steve Smith that's got a very different technique, jumps across the crease, comes out of the wicket, down the wicket or out of the crease in the line of the bowler's channel, specifically in Test cricket, but he also does it in ODIs, where Shubman Gill is much more traditional, very straightforward technique. He doesn't try a lot of different things. He does, however, have a lot of strength where he can change the gears and put a lot of pressure on the bowlers, where in the IPL we saw that front arm pull of a relatively full length. It wasn't even short, some of those deliveries, but he's got this incredible ability of picking up the length very quickly. And you generally see that with some of the best players in the world. And Shubman is very quickly becoming one of the best players in the world in all the formats. Very exciting young talent. He's still young, guys, which is incredible. I'm not exactly sure of his age, but he looks like an experienced campaigner already. And I think we're going to hear a lot of him in the future, and particularly in this World Cup. As I said, I think he's going to be the top run scorer. So thanks, Lionheart, for that. Moving on to the next one then. Side, which 3 batters are you excited to watch in the upcoming World Cup? So Shubman is top of that list. I think from South Africa, Quinton de Kock's got a point to prove. We know it's his final series or tournament before his retirement. From a South African point of view, we need him to perform up front. We know what he's capable of. We know what he does to the new ball, and the starts that he gives to South Africa is phenomenal. He's been a rock in that batting lineup, and then there's a lot of firepower to follow in Heinrich Klaasen, Aiden Markram, Themba Bavuma also showing some form. So, but Quinton de Kock stands out. Shubman Gill. And let's have a look at some of the other batters. I think we've spoken about Babar Azam before from Pakistan. What an incredible player. Pakistan need him to be in form. He has been showing some form, but we all know the World Cups. The World Cups are just a different beast. Playing in the World Cup, it's big pressure. And Babar will know that Pakistan need him to perform and score a lot of runs up the order. I do think that he will. He's an experienced campaigner. He's the leader of the pack. And I'm pretty sure. So those are my 3 picks: Shubman Gill, Quinton de Kock, Babar Azam. Thank you, Syed, for that question. I hope you guys agree with that. I do think it's 3 fantastic players. Nortje not playing in the World Cup is a huge blow for the Proteas. Sisanda Magala, by the way, also missing out. The bowling unit is looking really vulnerable. What advice will you give to them? Length is crucial in India, I guess. I saw a very interesting stat on South Africa's performance, the bowling performance of late. They are right at the bottom of the list when it comes to taking wickets, strike rate, average, all of those things in the first 10 overs, which is a big worry. Luckily for them, in that final series where we beat Australia over at home in South Africa, we won the last 3 ODIs, and the bowlers sort of woke up. We started getting some wickets a bit earlier, and they started showing a bit of form. I think of Kagiso Rabada, Ngidi. There's quite a bit of talent there. I see Andile Pegekwaya spoken about. He brings a whole different dynamic again, a bit slower, wicket to wicket, which is always crucial in India. And I think Australia have been struggling with that, not really bowling good tight lines and sort of leaving the stumps, allowing the batters to get on top of them. So yes, a little bit of worry there for South Africa. But as we know, the spinners play a huge role in India. I think Keshav Maharaj and Tabraiz Shamsi are fantastic, and they will take a lot of wickets in those middle overs and control the game. It's a big worry for all the batters around the world. Those 2 spinners are a fantastic spin combination and one of the best combinations in the world at the moment. So keep an eye out for them. I think they'll be doing really well. But yes, Nortje and Sisanda Magala missing out. It's huge blows for South Africa, especially Nortje. We've seen a lot of him in the IPL picking up wickets early. And that's the area that South Africa is struggling with at the moment. But I do believe that that final series against Australia would have boosted the confidence, and we'll take that into the World Cup. And as I mentioned before, I'm going to try and get Kagiso Rabada on the show and hear his thoughts. I have been in contact with him with regards to lengths and lines and the mental approach of against some of the best batters in the world. So I would love to share all of that with you guys. Moving on then to the next one, Victor. According to you, who will be the highest wicket taker in the World Cup? That's a good question, and it's a tough one. I would generally go with a spinner because I do think that the spinners will be bowling the bulk of the overs and a little bit more towards the latter stages of the innings where it really gets slow. Sometimes the spinners in Indian conditions are harder to hit at the back end than the seamers. So you'll have a look out for, or keep an eye out for the game plans of some of the leaders and the captains holding some of their wrist spinners particularly back for those final overs. I think of a Shamsi, Kuldeep Yadav at the back end there in overs 42, 43, especially when you get a new batter in and he's got to go from the start. You take the pace off, you bring up someone where the batters are not sure which way it's turning, and they tend to pick up a lot of wickets. So it's difficult to put my finger on one. I would like to hope, or I'm hoping that Tabraiz Shamsi would be one of the leading wicket takers in the tournament. Maharaj, always very underrated. But from an Indian perspective, I think Kuldeep Yadav, Jadu always very, very good in those middle overs. He generally doesn't bowl the back end, but I do think bowling at the back end, that's where the wicket takers are going to have a feast. And Kuldeep Yadav comes to mind. There are obviously quite a lot of other spinners that I'm not mentioning now, but we'll cover that in another show as we head into the World Cup. Thank you, Victor. Moving on to the next one then. Keep posting your questions, people. I'm really enjoying this. Some really good questions as well. My mouth is already dry. You guys are keeping me busy and we are on fire on the 360 show. What do you think about wrist spinners versus finger spinner debate in upcoming World Cup? So I sort of just touched on that. I see finger spinners bowling in the middle overs from overs 10 to 40. I know that's a huge bulk of the overs, but that's where finger spinners are really good. The batters are not really allowed to, or not really allowed to, but they don't have the freedom to really take down the bowlers. And that's where the finger spinners can squeeze and create a lot of pressure for the bowling lineup and for the fielding team. And the wrist spinners, I feel, is there for attacking. So I think of Kuldeep Yadav, who we just mentioned now, Shamsi, lots of other spinners, Ishodi from New Zealand. Every team's got this wrist spinner that can pick up wickets, but they are generally there to attack. You see a slip in there, you see some attacking field placings, and more often than not, when a new batter comes to the crease, you'll see the wrist spinners come on. It's never easy to start against a wrist spinner, especially at night in the day-night games when you're not sure which way the ball's turning. All you want to do as a batter is feel bat on ball, and now the wrist spinner is taking pace off. It's turning both ways. There are catches all over. The pressure is on because your team needs you to start a new partnership. That's the one area where I see the wrist spinners operate, and the second one is in those overs 40 to 44, 40 to 45, 2 or 3 overs maximum there, where the batter's got to go. But once again, the wicket is slow. The ball is old now. The fielders are deep, and you're trying to clear the boundary against very slow bowling, turning both ways on a slow deck. So those are the two areas. And then the finger spinner. So I'm not sure what you mean with the debate. I see room for both of them in a team, and they will have specific roles throughout the innings to either control the game or to win the game and take wickets. That's interesting, and you guys can keep an eye out on that. Eye out for that, where new batters come in and how the captains change to the wrist spinners. When a partnership starts, to the finger spinners again to try and really create pressure. I see finger spinners taking wickets through pressure, where wrist spinners more applying pressure to the batters, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we'll have some fun throughout the World Cup with that. Momin Farouk, thank you very much. Hi AB, I went to hit an absurd shot and got LBW by a spin bowler. That's never nice. Sorry about that. I couldn't read from my head with the hand in a must-win game. So what should I do? Finger spinners are quite tough like that. I don't think they always know which way the ball's going. No, not which way the ball's going, but generally they spin it or they turn it, give it a lot of revs. If it hits the seam, it slows off. It's really slow off the wicket and it takes a bit of turn. If it slightly misses the seam, it hits the shiny side of the ball, it skids through and it doesn't turn. So I've spoken to some wrist spinners before. Some of them do tweak it. Ashwin, Maharaj, they do slightly turn the wrist position. It's very difficult to pick up. What I would do with that is almost expect it to not turn much and make sure I show my stumps and I don't get across and get out LBW. So that's maybe what you did wrong. I always stayed on leg stump, making sure I cover the straight one and then play it off the deck. If I see a turn, I would follow it with my hands, hit it to the sweep on the offside and take my one. And then very important to finger spinners and wrist spinners, make sure you play with their length. So come down the wicket, pretend that you're coming down, then you stay back. So maybe he drops it a bit shorter. Any spinner, if he settles in on his length, you're going to be in trouble as a batter. You have to play with his length, maybe bring out a sweep shot when you feel comfortable with that, and make him think. Spinners are not allowed to settle. They're too dangerous. So there's a couple of pointers for you, Momin, and I hope it works, and I hope you don't get out LBW again. I always hated getting out LBW or bowl to any bowler. I would really trust my hands more than anything else, making sure that if he gets me out, it's nicked off to the slips and it's well bowled. And I always felt like, you know what, that's my strength, to hit the ball and not to play with my pads and getting it in the way. Anyway, I hope you take that advice and I hope it works for you. Thanks for that question. Moving on to the next one then. Keep posting your questions, people. Don't have a lot of time left, about 10 to 15 minutes. I'm going to be answering as many as I can. So please post your questions in the descriptions box. Pranjal, the next one here. Sir, what are the factors for hitting a long six? Is it just timing or body strength as well? Certainly a combination. But I would lean towards timing and hitting the ball really late under your eyes and then exploding through the ball. or accelerating through the ball. I hit some really big sixes when I was younger, which I think what helped me there was playing a lot of sports, tennis, golf. Golf is a very similar swing to hitting a six. Got to clear your hips and get through the ball with your hands. But I was definitely not strong when I was younger. I'm talking primary school here, when I was 10, 11, 12. I hit some really big sixes. And I remember some of my friends asking me in my team, like, how do you do that? I can't get the ball off the square. And I would just say, it's literally just timing. It's making sure you hit the ball late and you get your hands quickly through the ball. And that stayed consistent throughout my career. Obviously, gym work started as I got to the back end of my school career into my early 20s. I started gymming. I never felt it made a huge difference. But obviously it did. I'd always believe in core strength, making sure your back is strong and your core. You don't need big muscles to hit sixes. I promise you that. Some of the lankiest guys hit the biggest sixes. I consider myself one of the lankier guys. I don't know. But yes, very quick summary. Hitting it late under your eyes, keeping your shape for as long as possible. So making sure you don't start releasing before the ball is under your eyes or pretty close to you. I would always try and see the ball delivered out of the hands. Keep still, keep still, keep still, and then everything will be in place. Head upright, not like that. You see, that's a big problem a lot of guys have. Keep your head as upright as possible, and then boom, quick release through the ball, keeping your shapes, almost like enjoying it. You guys see that little logo at the top there, where I stand like that next to the 360 and almost let it go over the boundary and enjoy the shot. So those things are important. Keep your shape, but also keep your shape after you hit the shot and commit to it, you know. So I hope it works for you. Hitting a long six, we all enjoy that, but it comes down to timing. You don't need muscles for that. But I would say core and back strength. Do a lot of core work. I do some incredible stuff. I wish I could share it with you guys, but I'm not sure how to get it on there. There's an Instagram handle I follow. I'll maybe share it in the next show, where I do, I think it's like army workouts, you know, where you do a lot of planking stuff. It's all based around planking, getting arms out, pulling it in, getting up, getting down. It is very hard to do, but you feel so good after that because you can feel your back and your core getting stronger. All right, so I would focus on that. Moving on then to the next one. Thanks for that, Pranjal. Kartik Avasana, how do you keep your mindset while batting? That's really difficult, and it's something I worked hard at throughout my career. I think I have mentioned it before. I only started feeling comfortable at the age of 25. I think it was 2008. So that's after 4 or 5 years of international cricket. Only I started feeling like, you know what, I could keep my mind strong. I could keep the focus and my concentration, where I was very erratic as a youngster. And that's why I'm so jealous of watching some of these young guys come through in the IPL. I mean, in the very first IPL, they look composed and calm at the crease. I think of Yashashvi Jaiswal, and he immediately looked at home, you know. He looked like he's played for 30 years, which is incredible. And I think the younger generation is a lot more matured. They're exposed to international or not international cricket. The IPL, the highest form of the game after international cricket, you know. So it's great that the IPLs there and other tournaments around the world give these youngsters incredible exposure. I ran straight into international cricket at the age of 20, and it was really tough. Yes, I had the talent and I could hit the ball and I showed promise, but I was never consistent because I couldn't keep that focus throughout my innings. I didn't understand my strengths and weaknesses, and that's a crucial part of keeping your focus, is knowing what you're good at and what you're not so good at, and limiting the damage when it comes to your weaknesses. And when you have your strengths, really maximizing when the bowlers are fumbling or when they're starting to show weakness on their side, you know. So those are the things you pick up throughout your career. And that's what comes down to being consistent and having focus at the crease. It's just making sure you reset from ball to ball. You sort of switch off in between balls. And the minute the bowler turns at his mark, you switch on again and you tell yourself, head upright, wait for the ball, see the ball, and wait and play it under your eyes. Those are the things that are really important, very basic points, but we tend to forget it in the heat of battle when things are happening at a rapid pace. Thanks for that, Kartik. I hope it helps, and I hope you can keep your focus. And keep your focus, everyone. Keep asking your questions, please. We don't have a lot of time left, about 10 odd minutes. Austin, thank you very much for that and your question as well. Hi, AB. I'm a big fan from Karnataka since 2011. Only 2011. I started before then. I'm just kidding. Thanks for that. A shout out, please. Number one, do you think the 2023 World Cup is Virat's last, or will he play in the 2027 World Cup in South Africa? I know he loves traveling to South Africa. Very difficult to say. That's a long time away, another 4 odd years. Let's focus on this one first. I think that's what Virat would tell you. I'm going to focus on 2023 World Cup first. I'm going to try and win it with Team India. I think if they win this World Cup, it might not be a bad time to say, guys, thank you very much. I'm maybe just going to play Test cricket for the next few years and a little bit of IPL, enjoy the last bit of my career, have enough family time, and say goodbye to everyone. But he's still, I mean, he's incredible shape. He keeps fit. He's mentally still there. He's being rested from time to time by Team India, which I think is a great move. So I think the hunger and the fire will still be there for Virat. But I can't speak on behalf of him. I think 2027 is not been thought about at the moment. But thanks for that. And then secondly, can Virat get to 100 tons? I'm not sure what he's on. I think he's in the 90s, right? He can certainly get to 100. There's no doubt about that. I don't think that's his focus. I don't think he wants to break records. That's not his main drive. He's never been all about myself kind of guy. He wants to win World Cups for his team. He wants to be part of a successful unit. And in all the formats of the game, he's a team player. And that's what you see on the field, all that emotion coming out. He really wants the team to win, especially when he's fielding. I mean, there's nothing really to gain for him. But you can see that emotion, which tells you how much it means to him to win. And I know this World Cup will mean the world to him. Last but not least, is Virat the greatest ODI batter ever? There's no doubt about that. I think we can just settle that right here, right now. I think there have been more explosive batters who have had bigger impacts at a shorter period of time. But if you look at Virat's stats and what he's done over the years, especially batting under pressure and second innings chasing, he's certainly the best batter to ever play ODI cricket in my books. But yes, that's that then. Austin, thank you very much. 3 questions in one. You deserve that. I appreciate your support. Inklopper, you sound South African. I hope you are lighting your fire. I hope the fire is already going. It's 9:42 in South Africa. It's never too early to light a fire and to get some meat on the braai. How good is Heinrich Klaasen? Consistency in your eyes? Absolutely incredible. Very, very proud of him. I've worked with him for a long time. Since the day he arrived, since the day I watched him play at the Titans, I caught a liking in this guy, and I love the way he plays the game. I love his mental approach as well. He's a very relaxed guy. He's very friendly. He's got respect for other people. He's kind. He's humble. He's a genuine human being. You sometimes in sports see some fake people. People putting on a show, being ego-driven, getting sidetracked with other stuff. How good do I look in the mirror? All sorts of funny stuff. Sorry, I'm laughing at that. I can't believe I just said that. But those are the kind of guys I never like to mingle with. Heinrich Klaasen is a genuine guy with a really good heart. He's not too worried about what other people think of him or his image, even though his image is pretty good when he's got bats in hand. I mean, he's very classy right-hander. He's beautiful to watch. His cover drives are... we always say left-handers are pretty to look at, or they always look so elegant and stylish. Heinrich Klaasen's actually turned that around for the right-handers. He makes it look pretty when he bats. Very consistent. He's worked very hard at that over the years. He's definitely, you guys can argue with me if you want, the best player of spin in the world at the moment, possibly even the best player in the world at the moment. So yes, I know we just spoke about Virat. That's long-term career, best ever. But at this moment, form, Heinrich Klaasen is the best. So I know a lot of bowling attacks will be worried about him in this coming World Cup, and we'll be having a lot of analysis meetings looking at Heinrich Klaasen. So very proud of my ginger friend. What a great guy. So if you're not a fan, you can become a fan now. I can promise you, behind closed doors, he's a top man. I can't speak enough about him because I love watching him play, and I think he's one of South Africa's most important players in this World Cup to make us go all the way, hopefully. Thanks, Henk. Go light that fire, right? It's Heritage Day, it's Pride Day. Let's light the fires. And if you're in India, you can join in on the fun. Don't light up the nature and the trees and the bushes, please. You get a couple of dry logs together. You put them in a I don't know what you call like maybe you have Weber's over there, which you have like the stainless steel kind of thing with the grill on top. You make a bit of fire there, you put some meat on top, and you have a great time with your family and friends, and you just be happy with your heritage. And yeah, so we certainly are over here in South Africa. We have a great culture and a great history. Well, not all of it was great, but you know what I mean. I'm proud to be South African. Thanks, Henk. Moving on to the next one and the last few then. It's 9:45 over here in South Africa. We've been on for 30 minutes. I don't like to make these sessions too long. So yes, please adding those questions in the descriptions box. And I'll be finishing off with a few here GK edits. What is your thoughts on Ash coming into the squad for the World Cup? I think it's an unbelievable move. Not so good for other teams, not so good for South Africa and everyone else. Experienced, smart, plays the big moments really well. He's got incredible skill and understands his game with both bat and ball. Yeah, he's just a great addition to that team. I don't know why I wasn't there in the first place. I'm a big fan. He's always a little bit controversial, but he plays to win. You know, he's always got a big impact on the games. He loves to have the ball in hand in the pressure moments. He will never shy away from the big moments. So yes, great addition to the Indian team. Then my wife is just entering the room. She brought me a smoothie. Look at that. I mean, Heritage Day. Yeah, thanks, Danielle. And yeah, so a protein shake. So nutrition, to quickly touch on that. GK edits, go make a protein shake as well, and then you put some meat on the braai. So yes, Ash, great addition to that team. Let's move on to the next one then. I think I said enough about Ash. Merlin's Beard. What a great name. I love that. Are there any emerging players or underdog teams that could surprise everyone in the 2023 Cricket World Cup? Immediately that come to mind is New Zealand and Bangladesh, who are flying under the radar a little bit. They always seem to upset teams in World Cups. We know New Zealand in 2015 and 2019 went all the way to the final, even though in both those tournaments, not a lot of people were backing them as favourites. Maybe the 2015 one where they played at home, especially against us in that semi-final in Eden Park, which I think helped them a lot. It was one of the most electric cricket games I've ever been a part of. Very loud, could hardly hear myself talk. In 2019, we know they lost against England. They were very unlucky not to win that World Cup. We know England played those big moments well, had a little bit of luck as well, which tends to happen in World Cups for the winning teams. But New Zealand certainly flying under the radar. Not a lot of things have happened there in the last while. But for some reason, when you see them in the World Cups, they tend to come through. And funny enough, their rugby team also flying under the radar, which is very, very dangerous for all the rugby teams at the World Cup. We know what the All Blacks can do. And for them to not to be favourites and to be under the radar, I think will be very refreshing. And they will be building up a lot of steam and energy going into the knockout phases. So keep an eye out on the All Blacks and always also the cricket side. What are they called again? The Black Ferns or the White Ferns? I can't remember. Sorry. All these teams have nicknames, but the other one is Bangladesh that I mentioned, playing some really good cricket. Zimbabwe also will be at the World Cup. They played some really good cricket, and they always have good spinners. Sean Williams in the middle overs, left-arm spinner, can bat as well. Shakanda Raza, great combo there with the right-arm offie, lefty. So they will be a force to be reckoned with. Can one of these teams win the World Cup? Not so sure if Bangladesh or Zim can go all the way. It's possible, never say never, but New Zealand, certainly one of those teams that have proven that before. But yes, it will be refreshing to see one of those teams go all the way. Moving on to the last couple then, before I say goodbye. We will also be releasing, by the way, a show this week. We will be covering a lot more stuff. I've got possibly some interviews lined up. We will hear some of the players in the World Cup and their thoughts and with regards to their prep and the nerves and all of that. So keep an eye out for that. I'm thinking around Wednesday or Thursday latest, we will be releasing a normal 360 show. Last couple of questions. What do you think makes a cricketer great? Winning ICC titles or earning people's love and enjoying the sport? Oh, good question, because I'm actually in that boat. I never won a World Cup. Eh? At the end of the day, what people forget is cricket is a team game. It's not a player lifting a World Cup. I see that way too often on X or on Twitter or on social platforms. MS Dhoni did not win a World Cup. Team India won a World Cup. So keep that in mind, okay? Don't forget that. Ben Stokes didn't lift the trophy at Lord's in 2019. It was Team England, you know? There's a lot that goes into winning the World Cup. I think of the staff, the coaching staff, the selectors, the board members, directors, the players, the subs. Everyone adds a little bit. Psychologists adds a little bit of potion to the mix, you know. So you got to keep that in mind. I didn't win a World Cup, but South Africa have not won a World Cup before. And as a team, we came up short on numerous occasions. We got close and heartbreaking stuff. But at the end of the day, I think of then the individual guys in tennis and golf. It's much more important, in my opinion, to touch people's hearts. I think of Djokovic, which not a lot of people like. I've heard a lot of hate speech towards him for some reason. But what I love about him, he's a fierce competitor, similar to Virat, very hard on the pitch. When he walks off, he's very, very quick to turn to his opponent, to show respect to the game, to the fans, even though the fans boo Djokovic on numerous occasions in that last major he won. He still turned to them and said, "Thank you very much for being here tonight, for supporting me throughout my career." So those are the guys I look up to. And yes, obviously, you want them to win the trophies. I wanted to win a trophy. But luckily for me, we've won a lot of other trophies throughout my career. The MACE, the number 1 test team in the world. There was a brief moment where we were number 1 team in all the formats across the board. And those things will make me really proud throughout my career. We also won some big test series away from home against Australia, England, not once, but a few times. So those are the things that stand out. But yes, just to keep in mind, and I want to remind everyone out there, it's not a player that won a World Cup. Lionel Messi didn't win that soccer World Cup. It's Argentina that won that World Cup. It's actually a slap in the face to the other players. So if we can change that language, it would be great. You can say that you're happy for Messi that he won a World Cup because he hasn't won one before, and now he has. You would have been happy for me, right? But that's never going to happen, and I'm all right with that. Okay, last question then. Sorry, I'm yapping on. Maybe I'm just sour because I never won a World Cup. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. Oh, sad, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Prince Rawat, thank you very much for that. And guys, that shall be the last question. Thank you very much for joining me once again. Prince India, Sir, cricket is poorer without you. Want South Africa to lift at least one World Cup trophy just because of you, sir. Will be very happy, sir, if you play one IPL season. It will be a joy to the whole of India and Virat. Thank you very much for that. I must say I have thought about it before, but it's not going to happen. I've made my call, and as I've done throughout my whole career, I've always tried to be loyal to fans and teams and to the teams that I played for. I didn't jump around with teams a lot throughout my career. That's the one thing. And secondly, when I make decisions, I was told from a very young age to be clear with what you decide, to stick to it, because a lot of thinking went into it. And the reason for that is this last couple of seasons, I started finding myself losing a bit of energy on the field. And there's a few reasons for that. Family, but also preparation. I only play 2 or 3 months of the year, where I used to play 11 months of the year. So finding myself in the middle thinking I'm not as good as I used to be was a terrible, terrible thing. And I couldn't deal with that at the end of my career, and just decided, you know what, if I'm not here to be the best in the world and to change this game, then it's time for me to move on. So it was a difficult decision because there's a lot of things that made me still want to play, but ultimately deciding to move on. But thank you very much. I love you guys too. And I had a fantastic time, and I love my supporters and really enjoyed my fans throughout my career. And to this day, we're still interacting and we're sharing ideas about the game of cricket. There's so much we're still going to cover, and we're going to be having a lot of fun throughout this World Cup. So on that note, subscribe to the channel. You can see there down below. It's not so difficult. Hit the bell notification. Otherwise, you're going to miss my live sessions and the other shows that I also post. And then also follow me on the socials, because I always update you guys on when I'm going online. There's the Facebook handle, abdevilliers17, also Instagram and X, formerly known as Twitter. Thank you very much for joining me on another 360 show live. I love these sessions. I love interacting with you guys. And as I said, keep an eye out for that show being released later this week. I've got a very nice show lined up for you guys, and we'll be having some fun together then later this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a fantastic day. Remember, it's Heritage Day over here in South Africa. Think of us, but also in the same breath, celebrate your own heritage. Lots of love. Until next time.